Not too bad, not too bad. Can't complain. Just hanging in there, I suppose, and doing what I do worst or best, depending on your life
Yeah.
viewpoint.
It's been about 3 months since we caught up, and a lot has happened within the 3 months, like for you personally as well.
Yeah.
If we'll kick it back to, first of all, like going on the Late Late Show. How did that feel as an Irish person? I don't think people from outside of Ireland will understand it, but it must be a pretty big deal to you.
Yeah, it was like it's a pity about the what it was for. Obviously, a lot of people said what I said reached out to them and stuff. So a good came of it, but it's unfortunate that a good had to come of such a tragic circumstance, I suppose. So yeah, it was nice getting on the Late Late Show, but you can't really say it wasn't for comedy or it wasn't for it was for a horrible thing really. But it was the opportunity, and I wanted to take it, and I had it in my head what I was going to say to Ryan, so I wasn't going to be assuaged from doing that. I was going to come across how I wanted to come across, and like he changed the subject once or twice, but I was like, as I was saying, so, so I had my spiel noted off, and I wanted to kind of just, I suppose, the gritty reality of life for some people in this country, so.
And were you nervous going on it?
I wasn't. I was nervous afterwards when we got back to the hotel room, and then realizing I wasn't up until the last, and then you're watching it with everyone else, and that's when the tweets start coming and the messages and the emails, and you're frankly shitting yourself because you don't know how you were going to come across. And me watching it, you can't really judge how you came across yourself. It's only then when like loads of people started ringing me and texting me and messaging and Instagram DMs, and then it was kind of like, okay, I came across well, but like everyone was there, oh, you're such a hero for talking about it and stuff, and I was there, I'm not a fucking hero. The Laffey family are heroes. I'm not a fucking hero. I'm a fool that drove a bike drunk. Don't call me a hero. I wasn't comfortable with the kind of the plaudits, I suppose. It was just, like it was either very brave or very stupid to do it, but I'm glad I did do it, and I'm glad like I spoke about it, and I'm glad I spoke about anxiety and depression and alcoholism and drugs and stuff to self-medicate, I suppose. So it ended up being a good thing, I suppose. You can't ever say it was a bad thing, and as you said, like the Late Late Show, it's the kind of it's the mecca kind of for Irish TV and stuff. So yeah, it was nice to get the opportunity, and I'm glad I kind of grasped it with two hands and just said how I felt. And they had to cut a few bits out where I talked about one night contemplating suicide, acting it out in my head, and they had to cut that out, which I understood because it might give people ideas and stuff. But that was the only part really they cut out because they had to, because
Did they cut that out of a RT player version, was it?
Yeah, they cut it completely, yeah. But it's because they have to, because of regulations. You can't discuss methodology,
Yeah.
So I understood that. Like when she came in and said that, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I get that, you know what I mean? So that was the only bit really, and the rest was it was as is, like it was how I spoke, and it was it, and he was a gent, and everyone up there was really nice, and glad to get the opportunity. It was nice to have Roxy there as well with me, because otherwise I would have been up on my own, and I wouldn't have been
a lot more difficult then, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have been in a good emotional state, like to go back to a hotel room on your own, having to go through that and watch yourself on it, like, because I was kind of a nervous wreck for a few days after it, because it kind of brought everything back, and it was tiring, like it was trying, so. And then the doctor 5 days later, then, so it was just like, oh, here I am again, you know what I mean, and discussing it in even more depth and detail, so.
But do you think the Late Late Show appearance kind of set you up nicely for the documentary to come in, so it wasn't so full on?
Absolutely, because at that stage I was like, right, it's out now, whatever happens, happens. So if I'm going to get attacked or slaughtered online, it'll be now, and it won't be at the time of the documentary. Whereas if the documentary just came out as a single standalone piece, then anything could have happened, because I wasn't there. I wasn't publicly in your room discussing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So any people could have had a negative reaction, whereas the ice was broken with the Late Late Show. So
And what's the reaction been like generally anyway to it?
overwhelmingly positive. Like, there was just one or two little trolls or whatever. Well, one or two, but a few. But like, nothing. Like, it was just amazing to go down through the Twitter timeline and just see all the kudos, I suppose, for talking about things, and a lot of messages and things from people that would have been suicidal or had suicidal ideation or suffering with depression and would have been in the depths of despair or anxiety, especially a lot from people that have major panic attacks a lot of the time. So it was nice to be able to kind of talk to them, and it was kind of weird in a way as well, because they were like, I get panic attacks all the time. How did you get over them? And I'm like, no, 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 no. You're misreading it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I still suffer with it daily, and it goes up and down. Like, but it's kind of, I'm not the one to give advice. You know what I mean? I suppose they seen me kind of looking calm on the Late Late and thought, I suppose it's just the public perception of who you are and what you do anyway. That, like, this fella shouting in the car, that seems like he'd be mad crack, that he couldn't be, like, he couldn't have panic attacks or be depressed. You know what I mean? So it was nice to break that too, though. It was nice to, I suppose, for people that might just know me from the videos and mightn't follow my page, so they never get to see my little, blog style posts about my mental health. They mightn't see that, so it was nice to be able to reach them. And it's unfortunate that you have to do it in that way, because you're judged on the surface content of a horrible character as opposed to the person. So it's nice that a few people got to see who I am, really, and I suppose see me at my weakest and see me at my nakedness, And
But say you suffer from panic attacks and anxiety and things like that. Do you not find it difficult doing a stand-up show then in front of so many people, or is that do you just switch off?
No, it's very, very scary. That, like, it's like when we go back touring now, I can, like, sometimes I won't be able to go in. Most times I won't. I'll usually wait in the car until the last minute that I have to go in. Then I'll go in, and sometimes, like touring before, I'd have to get the lads. Oh, lads, you'll have to leave the green room. I need to like get in my headspace. I just couldn't have anyone around me. I suppose I don't know if it's a lot got to do with pride as well, or survival kicking in, that you don't want anyone to see you at your weakest, because obviously in times gone by, that's when you be taken out. You know what I mean? So it's gene survival, really. So yeah, but once I get out on stage, if I manage to walk out without shaking too much, I, like, 10 seconds into it, then you get the first laugh, or you get the kind of reaction, and it's smooth sailing from then. And when the show is going good, then it's kind of, you relax a bit more. It's always the fear of failure and the fear of messing it up, and then you have that as well then with your opener and your MC and everyone else around you, because this all comes back on me. So it's all the stress, and it's kind of, when it's all over and done, it's like, oh, thank God for that. And you go down and meet and greet and meet people and listen to their stories, and then the next night you're on the next leg or whatever, and you go to Manchester or Liverpool or whatever, and every show has went good that you've done there. You've never had a bad show. But then for that whole day, then waiting for the evening to kick in, the anxiety's there, and the panic is just waiting to, and you start self-monitoring and monitoring your breathing and controlling your breathing, even though that's a safety behaviour, which lengthens and worsens the panic attack, So it's,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if I told you last time that I done a little bit of stand-up comedy when I was in college. Like, one of the lads dared me to do it, and I ended up doing a few shows in Dublin, a few shows in Cork. I went up to Derry to do it. I've been around, like, as a dare, like, it went pretty okay.
Yeah,
I just couldn't hack I had a problem with remembering things. Like, I had material, but I just couldn't remember 15, 20 minutes of stuff. Like, I had to, like, use bullet points, and I'd have, like, a piece of paper there on the side just to remind me what to say. But I've definitely found that the most stressful thing I've ever done. Like,
yeah, it's just practice, I suppose. You get used to it. Like, we've done shows where we might have went for an hour and a half, and like I remember at the beginning, like we were at a few comedy festivals where they go, "You have 10 minutes," and I was like, "How the hell are we going to make 10 minutes stretch?" But
Yeah,
then, like, if you had to do 10 minutes now, I'd be like, "Oh, what good bits do we leave out?" Or you know what I mean. So
yeah,
like we built it up as we went, and I'd write things on the road, and I'd say something on stage that'd go down brilliantly, and it's like, all right, that's staying in. So I suppose because we had the audience and we had the crowd and we had our fans already, we didn't need to build up the fans. So we built up the show in conjunction with the fans as the tour grew, kind of thing. So you were always adding bits in and adding, and obviously with Farmer Michael, you know, you you always have the luxury of 15, 20 minutes pulling the piss out of the locality you're performing in, whether
yeah,
it be Wicklow or Liverpool. You know what I mean? You're going to have the bit of football banter, the bit of local GA banter. You look up Wikipedia on the way down and pick out two or three famous people from that area and
yeah,
go down on them, I suppose. You know what I mean? Not in a nasty way, but like in a kind of,
yeah.
Michael totally not getting what they do or something. If there's a famous GA player, I'd say like, "Oh, he used to play football or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
He was a cricketer or something.
One of the really positive things that I took away from watching the Late Late Show and the documentary was your relationship still with John's family.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's a really strong thing. Like, what's that
yeah.
experience like for you?
It's amazing, really. Like, just I suppose having their support and always knowing I had their support even before the documentary went out or the Late Late Show went out, because I regularly meet up at Thomas and go for tea and stuff and talk to Bobby and stuff. That's John's wife, like. So I knew that they always had my back going into this whole thing, and they love me and I love them, and it's unfortunate that we had to cross paths through such a tragic episode, but it's weird how your lives entwine in such a messed up way, and then 15 years later you're sitting in Air Square having a coffee with Thomas, and chatting about philosophy and rap, whatever else, it's surreal as well. And it was surreal that, like, I think the very fact that I was watching the documentary when it was broadcast that Wednesday night up in my room with Thomas. So, and yeah, there was tears shed, and there was, I kind of lost it kind of halfway through, but it needed to be done, and it was I think it was inevitable, like. So I held it together, I think, on the Late Late Show, because I didn't really have much time to think. I knew what I was going to say, and I knew I was time limited, so I was getting it out. So I was focused. Whereas when I was relaxed and watching the documentary, that's when kind of, I suppose it sucker punched me, and having Thomas there, and it wasn't easy, and we gave each other a hug afterwards, and it was all
Yeah,
cool.
it
And
was an emotional experience, I'd imagine.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you think people can learn any lessons from the documentary?
Uh, Jesus, that's a tough enough one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, obviously, the biggest lesson, like, is forgiveness, I suppose. So I suppose, yeah, the biggest thing, I suppose. See, it's a tricky question. Like, I suppose if I was watching it, I'd feel a bit relaxed knowing that there's someone out there that had those emotions and had that same thing. Because you often hear about people talking about alcoholism. You often hear about people talking about depression, but rarely do you hear people, I suppose, talk about panic attacks in a major way. You hear people, have anxiety or whatever, but like just blatantly and raw discussing what panic attacks are like, and trying to put it into words that can, I suppose, tell someone that's never suffered them what it is like to have it and what it is like to go through a panic attack. Because I don't like, there's the stat that, like, I think 50 or 60% of people who have the first panic attack go to the A&E because they think they're suffering a heart attack, because it's that scary, and there's a reason for that. Like my friend Colin, he said to me, he had one. He was always wondering
not wondering what they were like, but he could never put himself in my shoes. And then he had one, and he was like, I don't know why they're called panic attacks. They should be called terror attacks, because they are sheer, unadulterated terror for however long they last. And, unfortunately for me, a while back, I was having like very long ones. I think the longest one I had was about an hour up in Dublin, and I was bleeding and everything after it and stuff. And my nose was bleeding. Because I was trying to convince my brain that there was still air flowing through my nose and stuff. And I wanted to start the car to drive into the wall at the Liffey. I really wanted to have, but the panic attack was so bad that my legs were shaking so much that I couldn't start the car to kill myself. So the panic attack I wanted to end the panic attack by killing myself, but I couldn't do that action because the panic attack was so bad. So the panic attack ironically saved me from me trying to save myself from the panic attack, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
It does make sense, like, but I've never had a panic attack, and I don't think, like, I wouldn't understand, and I don't think anyone would understand that's never had one.
Yeah, it's very hard to put yourself in that. I suppose we find it hard to envision ourselves in other mental states. It's like you watch, we have an obsession worldwide about serial killers and stuff, and psychopathy and stuff, and we can never put ourselves in that position because we don't not feel like them. So it's a very human thing that we can only think like we do because we are not the other. So we find it hard to, like, who can put themselves in a mindset of a person that would, like, beat a 5-year-old child to death with a hammer. You can't envision the same way you can't envision what it's like for someone else to suffer something or to go through something, so. But we give advice to those people, you know what I mean? Everyone's too readily able to do that. Like, geez, you don't look bad. Yeah, I know. I don't. I'm dying inside. Or, it's all in your head. And it's like, yes, because that's where it comes from. Like, it's not my left ankle giving me a panic attack. It's my brain,
One thing that's topical at the moment, even in the football world, is, like, lads getting online abuse and things like that.
Yeah.
And I see, like, from following you on Facebook and stuff, that you get plenty of that. But one thing I like of what you do is you publicly put up the people and say, this guy said this, fuck him.
Yeah, I get criticised for that a lot. And people are going like, he's going to get attacked and stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you're going to say something really horrible or a death threat or slag my brother Jamie who has a learning disability, then I don't give a fuck what happens to be brutally honest. If you're going to come out on a public platform and you know from my history what I do to people like that, well then, fair game. You know what I mean? I really don't care. If anyone like calls Jamie a retard or something, I really don't give a fuck what happens to you, to be brutally honest. Like, you don't really, I don't see a place for you in the society I want to live in, so I don't really care what you do. And I don't really care if friends attack them, sorry for cursing, but fuck them. You know what I mean? I don't care. And in the heat of the moment as well, you're just like, I could go properly on an attack here, but I'm just going to post it and go, what a nice guy, or you know what I mean? Just And usually then they end up messaging me or emailing, apologizing, and you're like, why did you do it in the first place? Why bother? Like,
they're only apologizing because you brought it to light, though. Yeah. That's the thing.
Maybe think about it. If you wouldn't say it to someone in the street walking past them, don't say it online. It's as simple as that. Like, it's. Yeah.
And some of these guys, like, I see, like, ones that you put up and stuff, they're not even fake pages. They're real pages as well.
Yeah.
With their fucking pictures of their families and stuff on it, and they're saying this shit, like.
Yeah, middle-aged men with, like, young kids and stuff, and you're thinking, like, my God, I hope, for the good grace of God, that your children never meet a person like you in their lives, like their father. You know what I mean? Because you're a nasty person. You know what I mean? And, like, it's sad to say that if he's going to say that online without any forethought, he says that in real life. Like, he laughs at Down syndrome people on the telly or whatever. It's just people like that. I have no time for. I don't want them in my society. You know what I mean? I don't. Anyone that picks on the weak or picks on someone that can't defend themselves, then, I want to make you a victim.
Yeah, rightly so. We've got to a bit more positive things anyway. Well, positive in a way, but you had like a tour planned and you were going to go to England. Was it May, was it?
Yeah.
And that's obviously, that's off the cards now at the moment, yeah?
That's off the cards, yeah. I was talking to the promoters the last day, and we're going to release for January 2022 for Ireland. So that's where we stand. That's where we stand. So it's nearly a year now since my last gig. So that's a kind of weird thought to have, and it could be like 2 months off 2 years before I go back to doing a show again, and that's insane. I'm probably going to make a balls of it, without rehearsing and practicing it all the time. Like when you're doing it live, it's going to. But then again, it's chaotic by nature, so it'll kind of fit what we do anyway. So it's going to be, if you make a mistake, they don't know it's not part of it. So you carry on regardless. You know what I mean?
You could probably end up in the UK or England before here, judging by the way things are going.
Probably, yeah. I'd love to go back to Liverpool and Manchester and all them places again. Obviously, do St. George's Hall or one of them. You know what I mean? It's an amazing building. Like, it was used in the newest Batman movie as well. It's just an insane building. I remember when we booked it, like we drove up to it and we were like, Jesus Christ, are we performing in here tonight? You know what I mean? It's insane. To like 550 pissed Liverpool and Everton supporters after. It was mad, you know what I mean? And we done like 3 nights in a row, and then come back and done another 2, and then come back and done another 3. So it was insane. Standing ovation before we even came out on the stage, it was mad, like it was insane. Nice, but kind of insane.
Yeah. I'd say like they have like Reading and Leeds festivals are going ahead, and they've like 60,000 people, I think, in August over there. Like, so I'd say you might even get over there before the year ends.
Oh yeah, it'd be nice to get over like autumn sometime and do a few gigs and get back into the swing of it, and that'll put us in good stead then for the Irish tour as well. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a possibility, because we'll be both opened up, but I'd say we still have a few remaining restrictions which might hamper things for a while. So yeah, I think the UK in the autumn time might be a good gamble, a good bet.
Yeah. Do you reckon there's going to be nothing happening, do you reckon, this year in terms of arts over here?
I'd say it will, but it'll be very slow and very measured.
Yeah.
Like, we're already, I know, like, we were firing away in the vaccinations there, but I seen there recently enough that we're already falling behind. We were meant to give 100,000 last week, and it was 80 something. So, it's,
When I checked the other day, the official figures were, in total, with the second jab, the population that's been vaccinated is 2.8%. That's very low for 2 months.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, that's minuscule. It's quite scary. Like, get them out and get them done. Get dentists giving them. Get local GPs giving them. Home care nurses that visit elderly people, and get people doing it. It's not that hard to get the vaccination. It's not the hardest thing to get. It's a vaccination. Like,
I think the supply is the issue anyway at the moment.
Yeah, I think mostly, yeah. But, we could have done like the UK and got our own stocks and not wait for what the EU allocated us. But then again, if you do that, do you get in trouble? But, there's always 2 ways to, flog a dead horse or whatever. So I think that's
dead horses are very topical at the moment, actually.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah,
but we won't go into that.
Haven't we all answered the phone while sitting on a dead horse? Let he who was without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah. Right. Listen, it was great to catch up with you.
Absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
And sure, listen, I'll probably see you again.
Absolutely.